Thank you so much for bringing me to India again. It is a place that I love. I've been coming here for 20 years now, and the country just keeps getting better and better. I think with the world and where the world is at the moment, cricket or sport can be the one that sort of unifies the world. I think talking about South Africa, we saw what happened to South Africa in 1995 when South Africa won the Rugby World Cup and what sport did for South Africa. You saw what it did again a couple of years ago when South Africa won, and Siya Kolisi gave that whole speech. And I will reference rugby, but then I'll also reference the opportunity within sport and how that can be a leader in the sort of tumultuous world that we're living in at the moment. There's conflict everywhere. I sit here as an ex-sportsman. I sit here as a father of 2 children. And I was just speaking to Tony just in the back of the hall there about where the world is at and where we see the world. And as Joe Public, the world is actually a very scary place for us. And so for me sitting here now just trying to understand so many different opinions, you hear Russia speak only an hour or so ago, you then hear the gentleman last night, you hear Bill Gates talking about certain ways the world's going. I can just say from my side that the world for Joe Public is a very scary place. Digitally, scary. The war, scary. Pandemics, future pandemics, scary. So when we talk about cricket and we talk about that opportunity to unite, sport should be used. Sport can be used. The relationships between England and India. I mean, I was one of the first guys that broke away from England and had that sort of separation from the national side because of my affiliation with India and the IPL and the start of the IPL. You now have a look at the world of cricket that we're talking about. All the players from all around the world, friendships, almost homes here in this beautiful country. That's what cricket has done. English players, great friendships with Indian players. Indian players have great friendships with English players, with players from the Caribbean. Australian players. I know you guys are playing in a huge series at the moment against Australia. During, before and after those games, the friendships are rife. And so I think that sport can be used in some sort of fashion to be able to try and mend it. Cricket's an issue because China and America don't play cricket. Russia definitely don't play cricket.
Interesting you say that, because you're also the one who's highlighted politics in the boardroom and the dressing room, and you've written about it. And how did that impact you as a player? How did it impact your game and your idea of what it takes to be a leader?
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, on the flip side, I don't think politics should merge with sport in a manner where it picks teams and it favors different people. But I actually think the world has changed a lot since I wrote that book. And I actually think that right now, any opportunity to unify and to unite, whether it's countries, whether it's people, I think it needs to happen. The world has changed so much. I mean, we've just been through a pandemic. The last couple of years have been chaos for all of us. So if there are new opportunities and we need to change the way that we think, I think now is the right time to do it. And if cricket in this conversation is something that can be used, or sport is a conversation that can be used, why can't we use it?
Sure. Dr. Jaishankar, from honorable rivalries to now very vicious personal attacks, would you say sledging both in cricket and in politics has become par for the course?
The personal attacks was the politics or the cricket? But anyway, I know the answer. Now look, you know, if I could just pick up on something which Kevin said. He spoke about sports, cricket specifically, as a way of bonding, of uniting. I also look at it in a slightly different way. I mean, think of us, you know, we're from the world of sports, from the world of politics, from the world of diplomacy, and what is common amongst the 3 of us? All of them are extremely competitive activities. So at the end of the day, you know, sports or politics or diplomacy are ways of taking your competitive spirit into a particular domain. Now, when you speak about leadership, leadership is about making choices, having the courage to make the choices at difficult moments in the middle of a competition. And, in anything which any of us would have done, a large part of it is drilling for it on a regular basis, the sort of, I would say, the going to the nets which you would do in every business or as a regular routine, but also the mental strength and the experience and sometimes the innate talent to take the tough calls at the right time. Now, when you are competitive, yes, sometimes competition can be very extreme, and that's the kind of situation you are talking about. It will happen because not everybody would play by the rules. Not everybody. Sometimes it could be temperament. Sometimes it could be the compulsions of a situation. It can happen. But I would say, in my own way of working, I think if I have colleagues in the room, they would bear me out. I often, in diplomacy or in strategizing, use cricket analogies. I would say I would take a particular match or a particular player and use that to get across to them that that's what I expect, or that's what I think we should do, or that's a kind of risk we should take. And in all of this, one has to plan for the fact that there will always be sledging, there will always be something beyond the rules, something from as they say in another continent which doesn't play cricket, from the left field.
Right. I want to quote from what Mike Pompeo recently said about you in his book. He called you, and I'm quoting, a professional, rational, and a fierce defender of his boss and his country. And since you believe in cricket analogies, with a captain like Prime Minister Modi, how do you really set your field? Do you play an aggressive game and close in on the batsman, or do you focus more on guarding the boundaries mostly?
Well, I think with Prime Minister Modi, with Captain Modi, there's a lot of net practice. I mean, the net practice starts at 6 o'clock in the morning and goes on till fairly late. Again, there's also, and I'm sure Kevin would agree, I mean, if you have a particular bowler who you trust in or you've seen perform, you would give them the latitude. You throw the ball to them at the right moment. You would trust them to deal with that particular situation. And I think in that sense, Captain Modi does give his bowlers a certain amount of freedom. I mean, he expects you to take that wicket if he gives you the chance to do it. But I would also say some of it is watching the difficult decisions being taken. Kevin was speaking about the pandemic. I mean, all of us, if we look back at the last 3 years, the decision to lock down was a very, very tough decision. But it had to be taken at that point of time, and if we now look back, what would have happened if we had not taken that decision? The decision to actually push the vaccines in the vaccine production in the manner in which it was done, because it's something which most people naturally wouldn't know. One of the reasons why Tony and I have been so closely in touch was through the pandemic we were working the raw materials flow for the AstraZeneca, for the Covishield vaccine. To have the confidence to be able to devise a program to vaccinate so much people. Or even, I would say, the call to send vaccines abroad. There was a lot of questioning of that. I mean, today, everybody says, yes, great idea, we gave vaccines to 100 countries. And it was a tough call, because at that time, remember. So to me, a lot of, whether it's sports, any competitive situation, is that willingness to take the difficult calls, stand by those calls, give your people, the confidence that you will stand by them when they take the risks. This is all about competition and leadership.